Michael Hartley had always believed that a child could survive anything as long as they knew, deep in their heart, that they were loved, but ever since his wife, Ella, passed away 3 years ago, he had lived with the quiet fear that his little daughter, Lily, had lost something too big for him to replace alone, and though he worked long days repairing roofs, fixing windows, and doing whatever small contracting jobs came his way, he carried her picture in his pocket like a reminder of the one duty he could never allow himself to fail, being the kind of father she deserved. Still, as the years rolled by, he realized that his constant work schedule, his exhaustion, and his grief were leaving blank spaces in Lily's life, spaces where memories should have been, where bedtime stories should have been whispered, where warm breakfasts should have been cooked instead of rushed cereal bowls eaten alone while he tied his boots, and because of this, Michael finally decided to hire help, not just a babysitter, not just a housekeeper, but someone who could be present for Lily in the moments he wasn't, a caretaker who could bring softness and routine back into the little girl's world, someone who could help Lily feel safe, seen, and loved. That was how Ava Morgan entered their lives, a young woman carrying a recommendation letter from a local community center, dressed simply, her eyes wide and sincere, her hands gentle when she shook his, and though Michael had met many applicants before her, none had looked at his daughter the way Ava did, that warm, protective gaze that made it seem as if she already cared, even before the job was hers, and Lily, shy ever since losing her mother, surprised Michael by stepping out from behind his leg and asking Ava if she liked stuffed bunnies. Ava had laughed softly and knelt to her level, answering, "Only if they're as cute as you." That was the moment Michael decided. Ava moved in the next day. From the beginning, she was more dedicated than he expected, not in a bad way at first, but in a way that felt almost intense. She woke up before dawn to prepare Lily's favorite breakfast, she decorated Lily's room with handmade crafts, she sang lullabies Michael had never even heard before, and when she talked to Lily, she lowered her voice as though the world outside might harm the child if she spoke too loudly. Lily began smiling again, began humming again, began tugging Ava by the hand into the backyard to show her butterflies and dandelions, and Michael felt relief like a weight being lifted, until the small signs began appearing, signs he wanted to ignore because he so badly needed the help. It started the day Ava insisted Lily should not go to school because the other kids don't deserve her kindness, and though Michael gently corrected her, Ava's eyes flashed with something sharp, something wounded, as if he'd insulted her personally. Then there was the evening Lily told him, with innocent excitement, that Ava said she didn't need new friends because she already has me. Michael brushed it off, telling himself maybe Ava was simply overprotective, maybe she had grown up alone and didn't know boundaries well, maybe she was just trying too hard to do a good job. He didn't want to fire her, not when Lily was finally laughing again. But things escalated the night he came home early from work and found Ava kneeling in front of Lily, both hands wrapped around the child's, whispering, "I'll never let anyone take you from me, okay? Not ever." Lily was nodding, clutching her stuffed bunny, unaware of the intensity in Ava's voice. Michael froze behind the doorway, his heart thudding painfully in his chest, and it took everything in him to step forward gently and interrupt with a casual, "Dinner's here," even though his voice cracked at the edges. Ava stood quickly, smiling too brightly, as if nothing unusual had happened, but the unease settled inside him like cold ash. Over the next weeks, Ava's attachment became impossible to ignore. She seemed to appear whenever Lily reached for Michael, stepping between them subtly, offering to carry her, offering to read to her, offering to tuck her in instead. She corrected Michael on how to braid Lily's hair, how to fold her clothes, even how to talk to her, each time acting as though she, not him, knew the child better. One morning, Michael overheard her telling Lily, "Your daddy works so much, that's why you need me. I'm the one who's here." Something inside him snapped. That evening, after putting Lily to bed himself for once, forcing a smile through Ava's disapproving silence, he asked Ava to sit down at the kitchen table. She sat, clasping her hands tightly, her expression unreadable. Michael explained gently but firmly that he appreciated her dedication, that she had helped Lily more than she knew, but that boundaries were important, that Lily needed balance, that any caretaker should support the bond between father and daughter, not replace it. The moment he said the word replace, Ava's calm facade cracked, her eyes filled with a fury masked as heartbreak, her voice trembling as she whispered, "I'm not trying to replace you. I'm trying to fix what you can't." Michael felt the words like a slap. He tried to reason with her, but Ava's emotion spiraled faster than he expected, tears falling, hands shaking, her voice rising with a desperate edge as she insisted she was the only one who understood Lily, that Lily loved her more, that Lily needed her more. Michael realized then, with a chilling certainty, that Ava wasn't just devoted, she was obsessed. When he told her he would have to let her go, Ava didn't argue. She didn't scream. She simply stared at him with a hollow expression that made him feel like he had just opened a door he could never close again, and before he could say anything else, she stood, walked toward Lily's room, and placed a kiss on the sleeping girl's forehead. "I love you," she whispered, and though the words were soft, they felt heavy with something dark, something final. Ava left that night without another word. Michael locked the doors, checked the windows twice, and sat beside Lily's bed until dawn, holding her tiny hand in his, promising silently to never again let someone cross the lines he had been too tired, too lonely, to see. But the next morning, when he walked into the living room, his heart nearly stopped. On the table lay a small envelope with Lily's name on it, written in neat handwriting. Inside it was a simple message that made Michael's blood run cold: "She still needs me. I'll come back when she calls." And though the house was silent, the message echoed through Michael's chest like a threat, or a promise. The story was far from over. The envelope lay on the table for hours before Michael finally gathered the courage to touch it again, and though it contained only a few words, those words kept echoing in his mind all day like a whisper he couldn't outrun, making every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of wind against the windows feel like a warning. For days after Ava's departure, Michael lived in a constant mix of fear and guilt: fear that she might return at any moment, guilt that maybe, somehow, he had failed again to protect his daughter from something he should have seen coming sooner. Lily, too young to understand obsession, only asked where Ava went and why they couldn't call her, and each time Michael forced a steady voice to answer, his heart ached. He didn't want his daughter to grow up thinking people could just disappear from her life without explanation, but he also didn't want Lily carrying the weight of someone else's unhealthy attachment. So he tried to create a new routine, waking early to cook breakfast, walking Lily to school hand in hand, reading bedtime stories until his voice grew hoarse, things he should have done more of from the beginning, things that made him realize how precious every moment was. Slowly, the house began to feel like theirs again instead of a place with Ava's shadow lingering in every room. Weeks passed with no sign of her. No letters. No calls. No strange faces outside. Michael convinced himself that Ava must have moved on, found another family to work for, or maybe gone back to wherever she came from. But peace never lasts long for someone who has lived through heartbreak, and one evening, as Michael was closing the curtains, he saw a small figure standing across the street. The porch light caught the outline just enough for him to recognize the familiar posture, the dark hair pulled into a low ponytail, and the stillness, too still, almost unnatural. Ava. She didn't move. She didn't wave. She just watched his house like she was waiting for something. Michael felt panic claw up his chest. He checked the locks again, lifted Lily into his arms, and walked around the house turning off every light except in Lily's room, the one room she needed bright. That night, he barely slept. The next morning, the street was empty. No footprints. No car. No sign of Ava at all. Had he imagined it? Was it just his fear making shadows look like people? He wanted to believe that, but the dread didn't leave. 2 days later, Lily came home from school holding a small pink flower, a daisy, her favorite, and told him someone had left it inside her cubby. "Who gave it to you?" Michael asked, trying to keep his tone calm. Lily shrugged in the carefree way only children could. "I don't know. But it smelled like Ava." Michael's world tilted. He called the school. No one had seen any strangers around, no one unusual had entered the building, no teacher recalled seeing a young woman matching Ava's description, but Michael knew children didn't lie about things like scent or familiar objects. Ava had been there. She had gotten close enough to leave Lily something without being caught. That night, Michael sat on the couch long after Lily fell asleep, staring at the dark window, trying to figure out what to do. Should he call the police? What would he even say? That a former nanny was too attached? That she left a flower? Without evidence, they would dismiss him. So he made another decision: he would confront her himself. But fate didn't wait for him. The confrontation came sooner than he expected. 3 nights later, Michael awoke to a soft thump from the living room. His heart stopped. He moved silently, grabbing the baseball bat he kept behind the door, and stepped into the hallway. He heard another sound, a whisper so faint he almost thought it was the wind. He froze. The whisper came again, this time clearer, a soft familiar hum, a lullaby, the same lullaby Ava used to sing to Lily. He followed the sound slowly, every step measured, until he reached the living room doorway, and what he saw made the bat nearly slip from his hand. Ava, sitting on the floor next to the couch, holding Lily's stuffed bunny in her lap, rocking slightly as she sang under her breath. She didn't look up. She didn't flinch when she heard his shaky inhale. She stayed there, as calm as if she belonged in that spot forever. "Ava," Michael said, voice tight. She turned her head slowly toward him, and the smile she gave wasn't wild or angry, it was heartbreakingly serene, as if she believed this moment was the most natural thing in the world. "I told you she needed me," she whispered. "You didn't listen." Michael gripped the bat so hard his knuckles went white. "You can't be here. You need to leave." Ava stood, holding the bunny protectively, shaking her head like a child refusing to surrender a toy. "She called me," she insisted. "She missed me. I felt it." Michael wanted to shout, wanted to force her out, but he knew any sudden movement could escalate things. "Ava," he said more carefully, "you're scaring Lily. You're scaring me. This isn't okay. You need help." At the word help, Ava's eyes flickered with confusion, then pain. "I'm not the one who needs help," she whispered. "You are. You don't know how to love her the way she deserves. But I do. I can be what she lost." She was talking about Ella. Michael felt something inside him snap, not anger, but a fierce, protective instinct. "You don't get to talk about my wife," he said, stepping between Ava and the hallway where Lily slept. Ava's expression crumpled, not in remorse but in desperation. She reached toward him, pleading, "Michael, please, don't take her away from me. I don't have anyone else. She's all I have." "She's my daughter," he said, voice breaking. "Not yours." Ava's breathing quickened. She clutched the stuffed bunny tightly, then bolted toward the hallway. Michael reacted before thinking, dropping the bat, lunging forward, grabbing her arm. She struggled, but not with real strength, it was frantic, uncoordinated, driven by emotion rather than intention. "Let me go," she cried. Lily woke up at the scream, ran into the hallway, and froze at the sight of Ava being restrained. "Ava," her small voice trembled. Ava instantly softened, reaching toward her, "Sweetheart, it's okay, stop." Michael pulled Ava back, and for the first time, Lily hid behind him instead of running into Ava's arms. Something inside Ava shattered at that. Her entire body went limp. She stopped fighting. She stopped reaching. She just whispered, broken and trembling, "She doesn't want me anymore, does she?" Michael didn't answer. He just held her arm until she finally sank to the floor, crying silently into her hands. He called the authorities. For once, he didn't care about how it looked. The police arrived quietly, spoke to Ava gently, and escorted her out without force. She didn't fight them. She just looked back at Lily one last time with an expression of pure, aching loss before disappearing into the night. Days passed. Then weeks. The house grew peaceful again. Lily slept soundly. Michael breathed easier. Ava was taken for psychological evaluation, something the officers later told him was necessary and might help her heal. Michael didn't hate her. In some confusing way, he pitied her deeply. She hadn't been evil, she had been lost. And she had held onto Lily as if the child was the last light left in her broken world. Months later, Michael and Lily visited a garden fair, where Lily ran through rows of daisies, her giggles filling the warm air. Michael watched her, realizing something important. Love wasn't about replacing someone or clinging desperately, it was about showing up, consistently, imperfectly, but with your whole heart. And he would do that for her, every day, for the rest of his life. As Lily ran back to hug him tightly around the waist, Michael lifted her into his arms and whispered, "Daddy's here, okay? Always." And this time, he meant it with every piece of his soul. If you want more heart-touching stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more emotional, powerful stories your way.